Hello M3, this is Teacher Win and welcome once again to our Unit 3 topic which is materials. For this video, we are going to learn about ceramics. Other information about ceramics can be found on page 124 to 132 of your science book. To begin our lesson with, let me define first what is a ceramic. So the word ceramic comes from the Greek word keramas, which means pottery. So a ceramic nowadays is like an inorganic material which is made up of different elements which was hardened by using heat at a very high temperatures. Since ceramics, they are composed of different materials such as your clay, your feldspar, and quartz. So they are expected to be very hard and strong. Number two, they are brittle. Brittle meaning they're easily to break, especially when you drop it or if you apply pressure. Number three, they are low in density. That's because they are porous, meaning they absorb water. Number four, they are high or they have high heat resistance. And number five, they have high corrosion resistance. So they don't react to acids even if you place them, or they don't melt easily, especially when you use it for heating chemicals or as simple as like cooking and placing your hot food or hot drinks in a ceramic object. So about the spectrum of ceramics, so you can find them in different applications. It can be in refractories, carbon or graphite. It can be found in your building materials such as your flooring, and then you have your abrasives, your cutting tools, glasses, and so on and so forth. Speaking of ceramics, there are two classifications. The first one is traditional and then the second one is advanced. If you talk about traditional, so the word tradition meaning it's an older version of making your ceramics, and they are generally known such as your porcelain, your brick, and then your earthenware. So here is something like an example of your porcelain, your brick, and also your earthenware. Also, so these ceramics, they are naturally made from your clay, silica, and your feldspar. Since the raw materials for ceramics are like can easily be found in nature, so you don't need like complex materials or engineering to make these traditional ceramics. So basically, so you can find them in common building materials such as this one, your brick and then your clay pipes. Also in your household goods such as maybe your glasses or maybe your porcelain plates, and also in your manufacturing. So it can be in electrical application or just simply cutting smooth materials such as this picture. Since your traditional ceramics are made up of natural materials such as your clay, your silica, and your feldspar, wherein they are hardened by extreme or high temperature, so they are classified into four types. So the first one is your earthenware. So this is an example of your earthenware. So they are basically used to hold or to contain liquids. So basically, so you can find them in your cups, your bowls, or maybe in your clay pots or your flower pots. So these are your earthenwares. Next is we have your glasses. So glasses and ceramics. So with your glasses, so they have like impurities, meaning they add on something to prevent it from becoming crystal style. So resulting in basically transparent or translucent. So glasses, so we have examples such as your mirrors, your bottles, or even your scientific apparatus such as your beakers, so they're example for glasses. Next is we have your cement. So your cement is basically is like a powdery substance. So examples of that is like your Portland cement. So they are used to hold or bind substances which can be found like for example building your houses or building the roads. So you have that cement to hold your sand, your gravel, and water together when they become hard. So next is we have your enamel. So your enamel, or also known as your vitreous enamel, or also known as your porcelain. So they are like there's an application of thin layer of glass so that they will look shiny. So basically, so these animals, so they can be found in your spoons, your food containers, your trays, your accessories, or even in the pictures, we have your jars there. Now let's go to your advanced ceramics. So this is like still new because it was like developed half past century, so meaning it was developed on the year maybe 1940s to 1960s. So these advanced ceramics, so they are not commonly found in building materials of your houses or your roads because these advanced materials or these advanced ceramics, so they use different techniques, modern techniques to make this ceramics strong and better, which can be applied in extreme science applications such as your thermal barrier coating or even in engine applications such as the engine of your spaceship or your airplane, or even as to like your bioceramics or your bioceramic implants, so such as this picture. So we're in the application of ceramics, they use it to be a part of a human body, such as for this picture, like your human teeth, or it can be like maybe these bioceramics can be applied in your joints if you have like joint problems such as your arthritis. Now, let's go to your ceramic processing. So, most ceramics have like a high melting point, so you need a very high temperature to melt them. And also like they are also low density, but however, they are brittle, easy to break. So, regardless of what kind of ceramics you're making, so basically we always start with preparing the raw materials. So, I have here like the picture such as your clay, your kaolin, your feldspar, and your quartz. So for your clay and kaolin, so you have here the examples of your raw materials. So different type of clay, they have different application, right? So as you can see there, your kaolin can be used for porcelain. So whereas your earthenware, such as your jars and your pots, they're easy to work with. And then you also have there your, like for example, your fire clay and your ball clay, wherein they require higher degrees of temperature in order for them to solidify or to design them into a better material. So also, there are other materials such as your quartz and your feldspar. So with your feldspar, so they are used for making your ceramic have like this glossy appearance. And for your quartz, so they are basically used like to harden or to strengthen your ceramics. Now, after you prepare your raw materials or the materials needed to make your ceramics. So we will be dealing with the processes on how do you use those raw materials. So there are three steps. Number one is your in-slip casting, or also known as your drain casting. Or number two, you can have your wheel throwing. Or number three, you can have your the firing method. So let me begin first with your drain casting or your in-slip casting. So in your drain casting, so basically you have here your slip. Okay, your slip is like a fluid that is made of clay and powder and water that you mix together. So again, so a slip is a fluid material wherein you combine your clay, your powder, and your water. So what will you do with your slip is you are going to mold it or poured it in a plaster mold. So this gray thing here is your mold. So that is where your slip is poured, and then allow the slip to take shape of the mold. Then after that one, any excess water, okay, it is poured out just like this one. And then after that one, so you're going to remove the plaster mold, and you will have this figure of your ceramics. So basically, so they are just leaving it outside under the heat of the sun, so and let them dry. So basically, so you can find them in your vases or any sanitary ware. Now, the next type of your processing of your ceramics is we have your wheel throwing. So this is like the traditional type of molding your clay, wherein you have to use your hands to shape the clay into a desired object. It can be a jar, it can be a basin or pot or vases. And for them to design these objects, so you are going to use this potter's wheel. So this one, so you're just going to hold the side and then flip it so that it will turn or rotate. And as you turn this one or turn this potter's wheel, so you're going to use your hands to mold and shape the clay. And finally, we have the last technique of your processing. So we have the firing technique. So this oven here is what you call your kiln. Kiln. So again, so a kiln is like an oven wherein you are going to place your pots after you mold them, so that your pots will become hard and dried easily. So it's like baking bread, but instead of bread, you are using your clay pots there in your kiln or in your oven here. Nowadays, there are many applications of your ceramics. So actually, there are two. We have your glass, and then the second one is your cement. So let me begin first with your glass. So glass is like a non-crystal solid that is hard, waterproof, and corrosive resistant, so meaning they don't react to chemicals. However, the disadvantage or the bad thing about this glass is that they are easily to break or brittle. So basically with your glass, so you have the basic component, which is your silica, which mostly found in sand, and other materials such as your limestone, your soda ash. So they are melted together, and then so once they melted, so they mold it in order to make this glass. So using high heat temperatures, so those silica, your limestone, your soda ash, so they're melted together, and then once they melted, they are molded, and then once done, then you have your glass there. And speaking for glass, so there are four classifications. So we have your soda lime glass at first. So your soda lime glass is like it consists of 70% silica, and then a small amount of sodium oxide, and also your calcium oxide. So basically, so they can be found in your drinking glasses and your sheet glass. The second type of your glasses, you have your borosilicate glass. Your borosilicate glass. So basically, so these kind of glasses, so they are used for heating or for microwave purposes. So basically, so they are still consist of silica, your boric oxide, and small amounts of sodium oxide, and your calcium dioxide. Next, we have your crystal glass, so which can be found in your drinking glasses and other decorative materials. So they consist of like 50% silica and then 20% lead oxide and potassium oxide. So there's like a rare ingredient sand that is added to it, wherein that sand has a small amount of iron, which creates like crystal-like pattern on your object such as your drinking glass, just like this picture. And finally, we have your opal glass, which is made up of silica, sodium fluoride, and calcium fluoride. So these opal glass are your milk glass, so they can be found in your mirrors, your reflective glasses, or your safety glasses, or in some dinnerwares such as your bowl and also with your plates. And finally, we have the last application of your ceramics, which is your cement. So your cement, so it is used to bind other building units when it sets and hardens already. Believe it or not, your cement comes in different types. So you have your Portland cement, you have your mixed cement, and also with your white cement. Wherein of these three types, Portland cement is the common one because this Portland cement is used in construction. And this Portland cement comes in five types. So let me begin first with your type 1. So your type 1 is also known as your ordinary Portland cement. So this is used in general construction. So meaning you can use them in building roads, bridges, or even your drains. For number 2 or your type 2 Portland, so this is called like your modified Portland cement. So which has a good resistance to sulfate, and it's very best to or it's very good to build big structures such as your footings and your ports. And your type 3, which is also known as your high early strength Portland cement, which is very good in cold weather conditions. So basically, you can use them in your foundation piles because they have a very good strength even in cold or hot weather conditions, and also they dried quickly compared to your type 1 and type 2. Next, we have your type 4 Portland cement, or also known as your low heat Portland cement, so which is very good if you're going to make the walls of your dams. A dam is used to hold a large amount of water, so this type of cement is best to hold that large amount of water. And then finally, we have your type 5 Portland cement, or also known as your high sulfate resistant cement, which is very good if you're building a structure in marine conditions such as your sea or at the ocean. So finally, we are finished in learning about your ceramics. So this time, let's get your science book and open to page 133. So first question is, what is a ceramic? So a ceramic is an inorganic, non-metallic solid made from different elements which is hardened by heating in high temperatures. Number 2. Why ceramic materials are used in spacecraft components such as your spaceship? So that's because ceramics they have high melting point and low density, so they don't melt easily, especially when they enter the Earth's atmosphere. Number 3, explain the steps in making your glass. So you have to prepare your raw materials, your silica, limestone, soda ash, dolomite, and collet, and then you are going to mix it and melt it together. And then once it's melted, so it will make or form a viscous liquid. Viscous, something like a gelatin look-alike liquid, or like a honey type liquid, wherein that viscous liquid is formed or molded into the desired shape. Okay, for number 4, we have to identify the type of Portland cement that we are going to use. So there were 5, right? So for the first one, so what type of Portland cement you're going to use for road surfaces or bridges? So the answer is type 1 or ordinary Portland cement. Number 2, how about if you're going to use that Portland cement in alkaline conditions such as maybe in your soil or marine conditions. So you're going to use the type 5 or high sulfate resistant Portland cement. And then finally, number 3, if you're going to use Portland cement in building dams, so what type of Portland cement? So you're going to use type 4 or low heat Portland cement. And finally, for number 5, so you're going to give examples of your ceramic products that you are using right now. So basically, so there are lots of ceramic materials or ceramic products that we are using right now. So I have here limited example, or you can add more if you want to. So some ceramic products used in daily life are such as your cups, plates, and switches. So this is the end of our lesson M3. So I hope you learned about ceramics. If you have any questions, so you can message me online. So once again, thank you very much for watching and see you in the next video. Goodbye and take care and stay safe always.